Hello there everybody, Sam Strains here, welcome back to the Railway and welcome to another review. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to be unboxing yet another of Hornby's Centenary locomotives. So for part of Hornby's Centenary range, they announced a whole range of locomotives and products to celebrate 100 years in operation. Now it's 2021 now, so the Centenary year is over. However, they are still coming out with these Centenary products, and I've got one right here, which I'm quite excited about. So the model is this. It is the Centenary Peckett, and as you can see, this is not in the standard Hornby Railways packaging, and I've been really careful not to read too much into what exactly is different about this model, because I like the surprise on camera as I open it up. It's that Christmas morning feeling, isn't it? And I know you guys enjoy that as well. People have said that in the past, so I don't know really what's going to be different. I mean, obviously I've had to see a little bit, but I've tried to forget as best I can. Now this is a little bit more expensive than the standard Peckett. I mean, that's fair enough. It is a special edition of 2,000 units. They've only made 2,000 of them, and so it was a bit more expensive. It cost £109.99. That was the RRP. The regular RRP for the Hornby Peckett is £99.99, and you can get them cheaper from the retailers, of course. I have got an affiliate link to Hattons if you want to browse the different Pecketts available. They are marvellous models. This I know already. But today I have decided I'm going to revisit the Peckett, as you can see here, because in this photographic grey it was just too good to miss. So we're going to find out what this one is like. I cannot wait to see this one in the flesh. We'll see what you get for the extra £10. To be honest, it's not that bad, is it? I was expecting it to be much more than £10 more expensive. But yeah, we'll get this out, see what it's like. Hopefully it'll be a fun one. Let's do it. So as you can see, yeah, this is in a sort of square box as opposed to the standard oblong packaging. And I actually really like that because, of course, you can have a much larger photograph of the loco this way. And because it's such a beautiful loco, that has to be a good thing, doesn't it? It just looks so incredibly good there. I assume if this actually made it as far as model shops, which I'm not sure whether or not it did because it's just so popular and it's sold out everywhere as far as I can make out. But yeah, if this was in a model shop and I saw this big picture of such a great looking model, I think I'd be much more likely to buy it. I don't know about you. Anyway, let me show you the end of the box then. So if you do want to try and find one of these, good luck. Like I say, I think they are more or less sold out in most places. But it is R3825 Peckett 614 Centenary Year Limited Edition. And if I show you the back of the box, you can see some information not about the Pecketts in real life, but about the actual development of the Peckett and how they came to start producing industrial locomotives. So if you want to pause and read that, feel free to. As you can see, it's also got the Centenary Year logo at the bottom there, which looks really good. But I think we've done enough waffling. Well, I think I've done enough waffling now, so let's actually get this out and see what's inside. I'm thinking some sort of presentation box, but as I say, I've deliberately avoided any information on this so that I can find out for myself. Ooh, I think this does not look like the standard packaging. So this says Peckett & Sons 614. I love this gold lettering. Let me just turn it around. Limited edition, it says. Yeah, and then you've got the logo down in the gold as well. Look there. That looks really quite smart, doesn't it? There we go. So it's like, it's got a leather effect to it. I don't think it is leather, obviously, because for 10 quid, it's probably not going to be, is it? But it looks really nice, does that. Let's see how this opens. Does it hinge? It does hinge. Oh, look at that. You've got a little bit of ribbon holding the hinge. You know, this just makes the unboxing process so much more pleasurable, doesn't it? Having something a bit special. Right. So there's a piece of foam on top. Oh, nice. Wow, look at this. So I've got a certificate, first of all. There we are. R3825 Peckett 614. Let's have a look what number I got. So it's a production run of 2,000, and I got number 574, and that's my certificate of authenticity. I used to frame these when I used to get them. For some reason, I thought they were like really special things to have, and I used to put them on the walls and stuff. In fact, there's some behind me still. I don't really do that these days because it's a bit sad, isn't it? But yeah, I still do get a buzz when I hold one of these certificate of authenticity in my hands. It's silly, isn't it? But it's just, you can't help it. So there's that. I can see something else that looks really cool in this box as well. Ooh, this is exciting. Anyway, let's have a quick look, just because I normally do. Let's have a look at the instruction booklet. Peckett W4. We've seen all this before, but there we go. I am actually going to take a better look at the mechanism in this video because I don't think I did that on the previous Peckett videos. So that will be something else I can do in this video. Okay, there we go. Yeah, lubrication, body removal. It is DCC ready, so if you want to chip it, you can do. It is just the same as the other Pecketts as far as the sort of nuts and bolts go. Okay, what is this? It looks like one of the builder's plates. but what are we dealing with here? Is it made of metal? Is it not? Let's have a look. So it says Peckett and Sons Engineers Bristol, and I suppose when I get the logo up on the white background and we do the detail section, I will see if I can find this builder's plate on the locomotive. Oh no, I can't get it out. Okay, so obviously this is not a real metal nameplate, because for £10 that would just be a totally absurd expectation, wouldn't it? I think it's probably some sort of resin or something like that, and it's been painted into that sort of copper bronzy colour, and then the sort of lettering and such is just moulded into that and then painted, which looks really nice. You've got like a foam backing to it, which is sort of off kilter, as you can see, but I suppose that means you could put it on a table and not mark the table. I'm not entirely sure. It would be nice if you could have a way of sort of hanging this on a wall or something, more sensible perhaps than putting it down on a table, but that is me being pedantic again, isn't it? No, but I like that, I'm not sure where I'll put it. I might have to try and modify it so that I can put it on the wall or something, but anyway, yeah, I'm a bit like a monkey doing a puzzle at the moment, you know, to get a treat, because I'm struggling to get the logo out. I suppose I'd be better to pull this foam out, there we go, and I now have the locomotive. The locomotive's been overshadowed, actually, hasn't it, by the special packaging and all the other goodies, but there it is, and it does look superb, doesn't it? I love the photographic grey. I really love it. Right, let's take this out then and see what this is like. Yet again, this is another Peckett. I think this is the third 040 that I have, and the fourth Peckett overall, because I have a B2 as well. Yet again, this Peckett looks entirely different to all of the others I've ever owned. Ooh, but it feels just as quality. Now, if you didn't know this already, and I've banged on about this quite a lot, these locos are largely made of metal. The water tanks on top here, it's all metal, the running plates. So despite being a really, really tiny loco, these are actually super heavy, and they're good pullers as well. Just look at that, that's amazing. The front, the sort of smoke box area looks like unpainted plastic, doesn't it? But because it's got the sort of chrome painted smoke box dart and hinges and stuff, it just looks really, really cool. I wasn't sure if I was going to like that sort of unpainted look, but having it in my hands, yeah, it just looks quite special, doesn't it? So that is really, really cool. We'll take a close look at this in just a second, and I'll show you some of the details, because even though I've kind of done this before, I can't help wanting to get the close-up lens on this and just take in all of the different features this model has. So we will do that. First of all, though, here's a little bit of history on the W4 Pecketts. Here it comes. So the Peckett W4 was first introduced way back in 1885, so they are pretty old-fashioned, and they were built by Peckett and Sons in Bristol for the next 20 years or so. Now, the company produced several different variations of their 040, and indeed an 060 as we know, ranging between the W2 and the W7, and this example, the W4, had 3 foot 3.5 inch driving wheels and 20-inch piston strokes, I believe. Now, Peckett and Sons mainly produced locomotives for collieries, ironworks or similar industrial premises, and they did this very successfully for many years, really, until 1958, which was when their last ever steam locomotive was produced. In 1961, the company was taken over by the Reed Crane and Hoist Company, which also went bust before very long. This model represents a newly built locomotive in a temporary photographic grey livery, which was optimised, obviously, to look good in black and white photos, in which it would be photographed before being painted into its service livery, and in this case, I believe it went to Colville's Limited, although I'm not entirely sure what that livery looks like. So there it is then, up close and personal for you, the brand new Hornby Centenary Peckett. Ooh, hang on, that's not a Peckett, that is £10 tat. Seriously though, what am I supposed to do with this thing? I'd love to hang it on the wall, but obviously there's no hanger or anything on the back. I guess it's meant to just sit in the presentation box and look nice, but then again, they've gone to the trouble of putting this felt on the back of it. Not much trouble, admittedly, because it's all wonky, but yeah, are they expecting you to have this out on your coffee table to make you look cool or something? Or is it a coaster for some bizarre elliptical mug? I really don't know, but yeah, let's get this thing out of here now and we'll look at the loco. Okay, and yes, fortunately the existence of this object makes a lot more sense. Yeah, it's beautiful, I really do enjoy this. Probably would never have been seen running like this in real life, so you're not going to be buying this to run on your super realistic layout, but just as a nice thing to look at and a nice thing to own and a nice thing to run if you're not too bothered about it being a little bit unrealistic for actual work. You can't go wrong. I'm really happy with this. Let's take a close look at some of the various features and details. We'll start by having a look at the builder's plate on the side here. I'm assuming that's what it is. Does that look the same as the one we got in the box, the big resin one that I'm not sure what to do with? Well, I'm not sure right now because my eyes aren't that good, but hopefully the close-up lens will do a good job of capturing that. The decoration is really impressive. Look, we've got some text over the running plate. Fortunately, that is large enough for me to read. Peckett and Sons, Bristol, very nice. The side of the water tanks, again, has been nicely decorated. You've got the running number there and then this beautiful lining around that. Again, that is really neat and tidily done. And the tampo prints are nice and glossy, so they've got a real sheen to them. Now, as I've already said, the water tank here and the running plate, and basically the vast majority of the model, is actually made of die-cast metal, which is marvellous, and the weight reflects that really. 129 grams, that is actually a lot more than the Terriers, and they are much larger 060 locomotives. So yeah, that die-cast really does make a difference, and of course it makes a difference to the feel and the quality of the loco. I mean, when you just touch it like this, that is a metal water tank. So you could literally believe that you were holding a real miniature locomotive, which is fantastic. Now, the metalwork doesn't extend into the detail in most places, which is a pity. For example, the top of the chimney here is not made of copper, it's just sort of painted to look like it. But obviously, as always, the paint isn't that convincing, so it is quite obvious that the chimney is plastic. The same thing is true with the safety valve dome. As you can tell, it is just painted plastic, and there are quite large, coarse metallic flecks in the paint, which also add to the slightly unrealistic appearance of that. And the same thing is duplicated in the pipework beneath the water tanks. They just look really plasticky, which is a real shame. I mean, this is a tiny locomotive, and yes, the quality is there because it's mainly made of metal, but at quite considerably over £100, plastic pipework just doesn't sit too well with me. If that was really made of metal wire, that would look so much better. And you can say the same for basically every metal part on the model, or plastic part that's supposed to be metal. The one exception being the whistle. That is the one component on the model which genuinely does look like it's made of metal. I'm not even sure if it is, but it looks better, doesn't it? Okay, let's take a look at some of the details then. I do particularly like the handrails and such, which have that chrome finish to them. They don't have the same level of chrome shine that some of Bachmann's locos do. I think if one comes to mind, the E1, that had really properly shiny handrails. On this model, the handrails look like they're just painted plastic. Now, they might well actually be metal, but they don't look it because they're just being painted over, and I think you can see that on the front of the loco as well, the smokebox dart and the handrails and such. Yeah, not a fantastic finish on some of the detailing, and I know that is a common criticism of these models, but overall, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a deal breaker because this loco in itself is so tiny, you're not going to notice any of this stuff as you're running the Pecketts. So it's not a big deal, it's just something that someone like me does notice, so I can't really help but talk about it. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the rest of the model. So the sides of the cab, again, are really nicely decorated. I cannot actually fault the decoration on this model. It's really nicely done. And the same thing goes for the inside of the cab as well. You can see you've got the cream paintwork around the interior. It isn't just plain black plastic. And you've got loads of separately fitted cab details inside there, which is marvellous. The one criticism I would make is that the windows are not individually glazed, so you have got that awful looking plastic glazing piece which goes right to left on the front facing cab windows, which is all the more confusing given the fact that the back windows are individually glazed by the looks of it. Look at that. So I don't know why they did that for the back and not for the front, but it's a bit inconsistent and also, of course, a bit unrealistic. It does spoil the otherwise beautiful cab when you notice that. From the outside though, the cab windows do look fantastic, as you can see, and round the back there are some lovely little details, including the separately fitted lamp bracket and also this sort of extension to the back of the cab which enables the probably brake or reverser at the back there to actually be turned. It's great to see logic in the design like that, even though it is obviously just a model. That's really quite impressive. Now, the wheel set is beautiful as well. As you can see, you do have painted axles. That is really nice. They're painted sort of dark grey / black, which looks great. And then, of course, just the fine scale nature of the connecting rods and coupling rods, just marvellous, really marvellous. And they are, of course, made of metal, and it shows. They've got the nice high shine metallic effect to them. And just look at the crosshead coming out of the cylinders here. What a nice little cast piece that is. Really love that. And even the cylinder housing, look, that has the ultra fine decoration on it. Look at the lining there. It's also got cylinder drain cocks fitted to the underside. Underneath the boiler, you can see the boiler does actually continue down towards the chassis block quite realistically. In fact, you can almost see underneath the boiler, which is incredible. And you can also see the suspension springs, which may actually be a part of the chassis, I'm not too sure, but this livery does actually allow those to stand out. I had trouble capturing those in the past, but not on this model. That's quite good. The buffer beams, again, look at the lining on the buffer beams. They're really nicely done. The buffers are actually made of metal, but they are not sprung. That is a little bit of a shame given the price, but the quality of the model elsewhere is so darn good that the slight issues that I have pointed out aren't a deal breaker for me, but obviously as a reviewer I am going to talk about them. So yeah, those are the issues. So you've got the non-sprung buffers, quite a lot of unrealistic plasticky looking parts, but apart from that, a really, really lovely model. And I think that is more or less it, isn't it? That does cover the basics, I would say, of the detail. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the mechanism, and then we'll get it onto the track, get it running, and see how this lovely looking loco performs. So there it is then, the new Hornby Peckett in the photographic grey down onto the track, and doesn't this just look wonderful? I cannot wait to see this run, and I think it will run nicely, partly because I've had some before and I know that they do run well, and partly because I've just taken a look at the mechanism and over again it has more or less impressed me. So if we look underneath the locomotive, first of all you can see we do have traditional wiper pickups going to the wheels. Those are the best in my opinion. If I remove the base keeper plate for you, you can see that it comes off fully. There's spring-loaded contacts which connect the pickups. You can actually take the base keeper plate away from the model, which is fantastic for servicing and maintenance. Really good quality feature that, I love that. As you can see, we've got proper turned metal bearings on the wheel sets as well. That is a real quality touch. A less quality touch is this gross black hair that is wrapped around one of the axles. Now, at the time of filming these shots, the locomotive hadn't even touched my track, much less been run. However, the way that that hair is wrapped around the axle means that the loco has been run. So was it run at the factory before it came to the UK? Have Hornby run it before they dispatched it to the retailers? Did Hattons test the loco before they sent it to me? Well, I don't know. The point is though, this loco was bought brand new and therefore it shouldn't have been run. The only exception there, I suppose, is if they wanted to test them at the factory, that would be fine, but they should be testing them in surgically clean conditions. There certainly shouldn't be gross black hairs lying around in order to get wrapped around the axles. So that is a little bit foul, I suppose, isn't it? Anyway, if I take off the body, you can see what a lovely metal chassis we have. This whole chassis is made of metal, so everything you can see here is heavy die cast. There's really very little besides the details that are actually made of plastic on this model. The motor on paper isn't particularly great. As you can see, there's no flywheel, and according to Hornby.com, this is just a 3-pole motor. That's not the best, but in practice we know that these locos do perform well, which is great. And there's the DCC socket. You can buy decoders for this loco from Hornby, I believe. Overall then, yes, the mechanism is really, really decent. It's a pity about the motor. I can understand the fact that they've not got a flywheel in there because obviously there's very little space. However, the Hattons Andrew Barclay 040 locomotives do have 5-pole motors, so we know that it is possible for a loco this small and at this price to have a 5-pole motor. It is a bit of a pity that Hornby haven't done that for us. But let's see how the loco actually runs. It does have pickups on all 4 of its wheels, which is obviously the most it can have, unless you put 2 pickups per wheel, but this loco doesn't have anything like that. First ever test then, this has not yet been running, so don't expect the optimum performance just yet, but out of the box, here we go. Turning it up right now, and as you can see, 3 or 5-pole motor, that slow crawl is really good. Inconsistent, hang on. Sorry, guess it was a bit unnecessary to slam right in front of the lens like that, but never mind. But yeah, that is quite normal. When locos are sitting in their boxes, you do get a bit of carbon build-up on those pickups due to the oxidisation and such. It takes a little while for that to wear off when a loco's brand new, but after it does, you should start to see a better crawl. Yeah, this one is a little bit uppity straight out of the box. However, if it's like the other Pecketts I've had, it will get better with some running in. And in fact, already it seems to be doing that a little bit less, doesn't it, which is good. The crawl it did straight away, even though it did stop immediately because of the pickups, was really good, wasn't it? So clearly the mechanism doesn't have tons of friction in it, and clearly those motors are capable of turning real slow and producing a nice crawl. Just before it does run in, let's try that again, see if we can sort of log a bit of a crawl before it has had a chance to run in. Here we go, turning up. There we are. It's not dreadfully consistent, that. I'm not touching the controller now. Doesn't seem to be cutting out now. Please don't cut out now I've said that. Yeah, that's actually not bad at all, is it? Don't forget how tiny this locomotive is. It really is. back the other way. Notice there's no slop in the coupling rods here. Did you notice how both axles started turning more or less simultaneously then? It looked like it to me. So, and bear in mind, we only have one driven axle here, which means that those coupling rods must be reasonably tight. You don't want them too tight, but they are good and tight, I think. Okay, so it is still doing a fair bit of cutting out. Oh, it's a bit jerky at that speed. But I think that means it's time to run the loco in. We'll set it to 50% speed, get it going around the layout, and then I'll come back to you in a little while once it's had a chance to warm up. At a moderate speed though, as long as it's away from the points, there are absolutely no performance issues. It's not cutting out, it's not slowing down on curves obviously. Yeah, it's really, really decent. I should also say, I forgot to mention it when I was talking about the mechanism, the gauging is absolutely fine. The gauging is within 0.1 millimeters of the standard, which is really good. So we've got a back-to-back gauge of 14.5, I believe it was, and a front-to-back gauge of 15.1, which I would say is near enough, and clearly the performance does reflect that. Okay, fantastic. So it works, that's the main thing. It works rather well, I should add as well. I'll leave this running for 30 minutes in each direction, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay folks, there you go, that is the loco run in, and that was absolutely faultless. In fact, to be honest, I'd forgotten just how good a runners these Hornby Pecketts are. Almost dead silent, you can just hear the wheels clicking over the rail join, there's no motor noise whatsoever. It really is good and smooth. It didn't even cut out on the express points here at all. I didn't see it ever do it. I've never had to give it a nudge. I think at slower speeds it will do it because obviously that wheelbase is so short that it can't possibly maintain a connection at the lower speeds, but at the high speeds it is quite amazing how well it carries itself across. Let's try the slow speed again. Is it a bit more consistent now that it's had a good chance to stretch its legs? Let's see. Good God, look at that. That is incredible. What a slow speed. Strike forwards. Look there, that is just marvelous. How is a 3-pole motor this good? The gearing must be so incredibly good. And I suppose it is. Look, this is 50% speed. That's really not racing along. Did you see it? That was over the express point. I didn't... Yeah, there's like the tiniest stutter as it goes over them. Let's try it at this speed. It's got to stop. Yeah, it does. But even so, that's impressive. And to be honest, you're evil. If you put in a loco like this over express points and expecting it to be fine, then you're probably evil. Not to say anything too harsh to anybody, obviously. But yeah, I mean, overall, that is fairly decent, isn't it? At that speed, if it can get over the express points. And it did. There was a hesitation. But let's be honest, it's not bad, and it could be a lot worse, couldn't it? Okay, the pulling power. Now this is a heavy loco. As I say, this weighs in at 129 grams. That is more than the Terriers, and the pulling power is more than the Terriers as well. I measured a tractive effort of 0.13 newtons, which should allow this little loco to handle around 11 coaches on straight and level track, which, again, when you think this thing is the size of like 3 of my fingertips, that is quite amazing. And so I've set up quite an ambitious rake of wagons here. I think there are 13, including the brake van. Usually I would say that's too ambitious for a little 040 of this size. But in the case of the Peckett, I really don't think so. I've tested these out before and I was impressed by the pulling power. So yeah, I think there's an actual chance she will manage this without a problem. But let's find out. Here we go. And this is just how an industrial shunting locomotive should handle. So easy to control, even down to the very slowest speeds, ultra reliable, even on DC without any stay alive fitted. Oh, it's just an absolute joy. Right, did it couple correctly? Yes, it did. And look at that, look at the torque there. 13 wagons creeping forwards like that. And notice now that it has been running, it isn't cutting out as much as it was before. In fact, away from the points, I haven't seen it cut out at all since it's been running. Let's accelerate slowly. I mean, that is just such a good controllable loco. The performance is exquisite. And there goes the express point. Let's put it up to about 40. That seems a reasonable maximum for this sort of loco. And I'm sorry I keep reviewing these Pecketts. I think this is number 3 that I've reviewed now. But I, honest to God, just don't get bored running these things. If it was left down to me, I'd probably review a new one every single week because they are that good. But no, I promise this one will be the last. It's just I couldn't resist it. Anyway, speaking of the other Pecketts that I've reviewed, here come the other W4s, so they are the 040s. These two are double heading together, which is something I quite like to do. In fact, maybe one day I'll do a triple header. But no, this one's just double. We have the leaf green and the plain black, also with a nice train of wagons, although not as many as the Centenary one is having to handle. Again, fantastic runners, and as you can see, they work very, very well in a double heading formation as well. And then finally, on the inside line, we have the other Peckett that I have. This is the B2, the 060 Peckett, which is every bit as good as the 040 ones from Hornby. And there it is right now. Anyway, see which other locomotives you can spot on the sidings and such. They're all 040s, but there is one odd one out. See if you can spot which one it is. And let's go and catch up with the Centenary Peckett and see if it handles those wagons up Gordon's Hill. I'm just waiting on the hill for the new Peckett to come, and while I was, these two came along. Anyway, here comes the W4, the new Centenary version. Wait for it, there it is. And to be honest, I mean, this is quite the load on a gradient for such a small locomotive. In fact, for such a small motor, it was a tiny little thing, wasn't it? And yet, I've never known any of these Pecketts complain. I've never known any of these Pecketts burn out. So they must be real quality motors. And look at that. I'm not even seeing any wheel slip. 13 wagons. Got such large... I mean, the BT well tank couldn't have done this. And that was a much larger and more expensive loco. Yeah, that diecast does wonders for these. And it makes an expensive model worth the money, in my opinion. Because, yes, it costs a lot. But in return for that money, you get quality. You do get what you pay for with these Hornby Pecketts, and I'm really, really glad. So let's have some ratings for the Hornby W4 Centenary Peckett. The level of detail, I mean, this is a really nicely detailed model. When you consider how tiny it is, the level of detail is super impressive. The livery, the decoration, really fine and impressive. You've got little cab details, loads of separately fitted parts, pipework, handrails, separately fitted smoke box darts. Absolutely fantastic, to be honest with you. I have knocked off half a star for the lack of sprung buffers and also for the slightly unrealistic cab windows, not too keen on those, but overall I think the just sheer level of detail on the rest of the model means that I would be doing the model an injustice if I give it less than 4.5 stars. Performance, I've given this 5 stars. Now that the loco has run in, it's running much, much more smoothly. The slow crawl is absolutely incredible. It's silent. It doesn't really stall on points, although it will on express points at the absolute slowest of speeds, but that's not really the loco's fault. There's literally nothing to be done about that, except maybe give it a wagon with extra pickups, but that's not something that Hornby have done. Overall, anyway, I think it is deserving of 5 stars. The pulling power, to be honest, for a loco this tiny is really quite impressive. 11 coaches for a tiny little 040 like this, and that's pretty decent. The mechanism, I've given 4 star. Generally, the mechanism is absolutely fine. You've got nice, proper metal bearings on the wheel set, pickups going to each wheel, really competently designed, easy to access, etc, etc. The motor leaves a bit to be desired. It is only 3-pole without a flywheel, which is where it loses that 1 star, but besides that, for something, again, this tiny, the mechanism is absolutely fine, more than fine, I would say. The quality, similarly, is absolutely fantastic on this model. It's incredible, to be honest, that there is so much die-cast on a model like this. It is just a pity that some of those details weren't made of plastic because they looked it. Had some of those pipes and the safety valve dome and the top of the chimney actually been made of metal and not just painted to look like it, I could have truly given this a 5 star on quality. But it must be said, the way this model is assembled, the way it's painted, the way it's produced, absolutely fantastic. I can't really fault that. Now, value for money, I have given this 3 stars. I've been a little bit harsher on this where value for money is concerned, because obviously normally the Peckett's RRP is £99, 99, something like that, and you can buy it for £90 at the retailers or sometimes less. Well, this was £109.99, so on RRP this model is more expensive than the normal Peckett, except because it's limited edition and the retailers haven't had all that many. Many retailers, Hatton's included, decided to sell these at RRP. Some of them are selling this for more like £100, which is better, but a lot of them aren't, so I actually ended up paying £20 more than the standard Peckett. Now, in some ways it is worth it, right, because you do get a good quality model, and that special display packaging looked really, really really good. I think the packaging I'm willing to pay a little bit more for. However, that piece of tat builder's plate I'm not willing to pay much more for. If I could hang it on my wall and it was made really nicely, then maybe I would be inclined to say it was worth it. However, you can't hang it on the wall and it wasn't made particularly nicely. It's just a cheap gimmick, which isn't all that great, to be honest with you. So I have given it 3 stars. I think it is a little bit expensive, but on the other hand, you do kind of get what you pay for because it's a really nicely detailed little model that performs as it should, and it's built to a high standard. So overall, it is deserving, I think, of that relatively high score, 8.37 out of 10. Let's put that into the logbook. There it is, second place, just below the Johnson 1P and above the Bachmann LMS 10,000 locomotive. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. It did cost me a bit more than I would have liked, but I don't regret it. I'm quite happy with it, to be quite honest. And notice also how constant the speed of this remains at all parts of the layout, even on curves, on gradients, whatever. It remains at a constant speed. So for those people that jump to blame my controller or my track or something else when the likes of Bachmann locos or Helgen locos don't work properly, remember this tiny little Peckett and how well it runs. And remember that a good quality locomotive with a decent mechanism and a good amount of weight will run well even on my layout with my Gagemaster controller. I've always known that, but sometimes it just needs demonstrating, doesn't it? Yeah, that is marvellous, isn't it? I do not regret it. Absolutely not. And the photographic grey, it's silly to like it because it was dreadfully impractical in real life and it never lasted long. But in model form, I must admit it's one of my guilty pleasures. Well, there you have it then, folks. I wasn't sure when I started this review. I thought, is this going to be different enough to warrant another review on top of the 2 that I've already done? Well, I don't think I needed to have worried because I really have enjoyed this. And in fact, it's also given me an excuse to run some of my other Pecketts, which I also really do enjoy. So, yeah, I'm actually really glad I did this, and of course it will be a lovely loco to have in the collection and to use whenever I want a lovely loco to run. Yeah, if you can get your hands on one of these, see if you can do, because, I mean, it's only £10 more than the normal one, or 20 if you're unlucky and you can't find a retailer selling for a little bit cheaper than the RRP. But either way, if you really do want to celebrate Hornby's centenary and you like the look of these Pecketts, it's really difficult not to recommend these. They are lovely, lovely models. And I think with that, folks, I will leave this review about there. I've really enjoyed this one, but I hope you did as well. Hopefully it wasn't too boring looking at another Peckett. Like I say, I don't think I'll do any more 040 Pecketts after this. No promises on the 060 Pecketts because I've only done one of those, and they are beautiful models as well. So never say never on the B2. But I think that will do it for the W4 from me. That's not to say I won't ever show them again. I'll run them in various running sessions and such, but I think that is fairly definitive, isn't it, in terms of reviewing them. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I will say see you next time. You look after yourselves, and I'll catch you on the next one. All right, cheers, folks.